A bear was chasing me. That was a big one. I think I lost it. I think it got distracted by a squirrel. People often ask me if I carry a weapon when I'm out in the woods, especially since I spend so much time in an area with so many bears. We'll talk about what those of us who work out in the woods do to keep ourselves safe from dangerous wild animals. I get the impression the general public gets a lot of their education about wildlife from sources like TV, movies, cartoons, just pop culture ideas and beliefs about how wildlife behaves. What happens in the cartoons? You have some characters wandering through the woods when all of a sudden they run into a big scary bear. What's the bear do? It stands up and goes, roar! Acts all scary. The characters start running, then the bear starts chasing after them, which I always thought was silly. For some reason, big scary monsters do the same thing. If you want to catch something, you don't go roar first, give them a chance to run. If you want to get them, just go get them. Skip the whole roar part. I'm suspicious that that is the general type of education a lot of people have about wildlife. I have had so many encounters with bears, so many encounters. Cases where we are out in the woods and we come face to face with each other. Those encounters almost always go exactly the same way. I see the bear and think, oh my, a bear. It sees me, turns around, runs the other direction as fast as it can. End of story. No big scary roar, no chasing, no anybody getting anybody, just bear gone. If anybody was to go roar, it would probably be me, just for my own entertainment. Next time I run into a bear, I might actually try going roar at it, just for my own entertainment. Problem with that is, when I see a bear, it's usually gone so fast in the brush, and I never see it again, there's no time to go roar at it. That is more typical bear behavior in the real world. There are exceptions. There are places like popular campgrounds, or places where homeowners have fed the bears. Bears have become more accustomed to humans, but those are exceptions, and even in those cases, bears attacking humans are extremely rare. Even though bear attacks on humans is extremely rare, it does happen. I tried to look up some of the numbers of how many people were killed in the United States by bears between the year 2000 and the year 2025. I found a lot of conflicting numbers. It was hard to get good data, but what they all had in common was the number is extremely low. One of the numbers I saw was there was 7 fatal attacks by black bears in the lower 48 in the last 25 years. Grizzlies was something like 12, 13, but we don't have grizzlies in most of the lower 48. We only have those in a small part of the northern Rockies. Don't quote me on those numbers. I saw another figure that was somewhere around 50 people attacked and killed by bears in the whole United States. And there was a disproportionately higher percentage in Alaska, where they have grizzly bears, a lot of them. And I've heard some say even the black bears are more aggressive in Alaska. But we're not talking about Alaska. We will leave Alaska to people who know about Alaska. But even though I said we're not going to talk about Alaska, I'm going to keep talking about Alaska. If you look at the human population in Alaska, it's very small. But look at the human population in the lower 48, which is relatively much bigger. Down here in the lower 48, where most of us are, where most of the people who are afraid of bears are, the number of bears who kill people compared to the number of people they are is just so small. We could debate about whether it's 7 or 50 people have been killed in the United States by bears in the last 25 years, but compare that to the number of humans who have been killed by other humans in the last 25 years. It's more like 500,000. So compare 7 to 50 versus 500,000 who have been killed by humans. What is the more dangerous animal, humans or bears? Are you safer out here where there are no humans but there are bears, or are you safer at home in an urban area where there are humans all around you. Okay, there is one human here, but I've always had a reputation of being fairly harmless. And mountain lion attacks, even more rare than black bear attacks, much more rare. I always thought it was kind of funny. A guy used to come visit me out in my woods. As soon as he got out of his vehicle, he would strap on his side piece to protect him from bears, cougars. He just left his home in a questionable city where there are all kinds of dangerous two-legged animals around him. He didn't wear that thing there. He wore that out in the woods where he's actually more safe. Now back to the question, do I carry a weapon when I'm out in the woods? A lot of times I do. Even though the chances of being harmed by a large animal out in the woods is extremely rare, it is good to have a sense of security and know I have the ability to possibly defend myself from becoming one of those extremely rare statistics. But mostly the reason I do it is not because of four-legged animals. It's in case I run into some crazy two-legged animal out in the woods. Hopefully it never comes to that, and so far it never has, but it's good to know if it does, I'm not going to be completely defenseless. What do those of us who work in the woods do to protect ourselves from these large predator animals? Mostly nothing, because we don't have to. They don't chase us, they don't eat us, they leave us alone. A lot of us do carry weapons, but I don't know of any of us who have ever had to use them against four-legged animals. I tried to look up cases where loggers, foresters have been killed by bears. I can't find any. Of course, I'm not saying don't be careful around wild animals. Wild animals can be dangerous. Don't do stupid things around wild animals. Always be cautious no matter where you are, especially when it comes to the wild animals that are out here that actually are dangerous. Far more dangerous than the four-legged animals, more dangerous than the two-legged animals, the ones you really have to watch out for, and that's the six-legged ones. Of those, especially the yellow jackets. Some people will call them bees, but they're not actually bees, they're yellow jackets. They build nests in the ground. Those are hateful creatures. They don't even stand up and go roar. They just go get you and they nail you hard. Those things are hateful. Just the thought of running into a yellow jacket nest will strike pure terror even in the roughest, toughest, rootinest, shootinest loggers, foresters, wildfire fighters in the land. Did I just say wildfire firefighters? See, now I'm all flustered now thinking about yellow jackets. I meant to say wildland firefighters. Those people know what the real animal is out here that you need to be afraid of. Not the bears, not the cougars, not even humans so much when compared to yellow jackets or hornets. And I'm not talking about just a yellow jacket buzzing around. I've seen people completely freak out because they're eating a sandwich and a yellow jacket's buzzing around them. That's not what you have to worry about. What you have to worry about is running into one of their nests. You don't need to freak out because it's just trying to find something to eat. Freaking out going, a bee, a bee, a bee, a bee, a bee, doesn't do well for your image. That is if you care about those things. But if you are deathly allergic to stings, we'll give you a pass on that. Maybe it's okay to freak out a little bit. The more appropriate time to freak out is if you run into one of their nests. That can cause even the roughest, toughest outdoor person to freak out. Sometimes it can even get them to do the bee dance. We'll get into the bee dance here shortly. You don't even have to harm their nest. Just cause it to vibrate, shake, or sometimes even look at it funny. If that happens, chances are you are going to be the victim of an all-out air attack. And it's not going to be pretty. Fortunately, I'm not allergic to stings, but I have had many encounters with yellow jacket and hornet nests. Some of them, I think, have even caused me to do the bee dance. Mostly yellow jackets. Hornets can be nasty. They might be even more nasty than yellow jackets. But they have big paper nests that are above ground. Typically, I see them before they ever get to me. Yellow jackets can be more of a problem because they nest underground. It's hard to see where their nest is. But over the years, I've learned to a lot of times spot them before they ever get to me. The way A lot of times that comes down to just being aware. I'm almost always looking out for them. Sometimes I will notice a spot where there's a curious stream of air traffic flying in and out of the ground. That's a good indication that that is a yellow jacket nest. I was hoping to find a yellow jacket nest so I could show you what I'm talking about. But when I want to find one, I can't find one. Or the ones I do find, a bear has already got to them, it's dug them up. A lot of people think they do that to eat the honey, but yellow jackets are not bees. They don't make honey. The bears dig them up to eat the larvae, the young yellow jackets inside. One of the things I wanted to show you was the different sound they make when a nest is disturbed versus the sound of just a lone yellow jacket buzzing around trying to find food. I got some footage of the lone yellow jackets flying around looking for food. But I haven't got the angry yellow jacket nest sound for you yet. I'm still looking. If I don't find one of those, I might have to wait and do a separate video about yellow jackets after I do. But just be aware of the sound the yellow jacket makes as it's just buzzing around looking for food. That yellow jacket is generally harmless. It's that bzzz sound they make when you run into their nest. When you hear that, run. Don't try to pass go. Don't try to collect $200. Just run. Run, Forrest, run. Get out of there. These things are horribly mean, but fortunately, they're not very smart. If something is disturbing their nest, they don't always know right away of all the objects around which one to go after. A lot of times I have heard that bzzz sound and I run away, and I get away before they figure out who is causing them. I'm not even causing them problem. I'm just walking by innocently and they get all mad. I'm trying to keep this a family-friendly channel, which is a little bit hard to do when talking about yellow jackets. Always be looking out for those spots with curious air traffic flying in and out of the ground. Always be listening to that angry swarm of yellow jackets sound. Then there are the hornets. Always be watching out for those paper ball nests. A lot of times they're up in trees. They can be in the brush. If you are climbing trees, watch out for them. If you're cutting trees down, not only might they be in the tree you're cutting down, they could be in another tree that gets hit by the tree you cut down, or in the brush. If you're walking through the brush, watch out ahead of yourself. Not only be looking at the ground for yellow jacket nests, also be watching out for hornet nests. Yellow jackets really hurt when they sting, but I think hornets hurt even more. Now, I know a guy who used to climb trees, fir trees, pine trees, to collect the cones to get the seeds out of them for reforestation. I remember hearing a story about him a long time ago. He was climbing up a tree, wasn't watching where he was going, went head first right into a hornet nest, which reminds me of something I think I've seen before in cartoons. I wish I could remember his story better. I think the way it went is about the way you would imagine it went. Earlier I said bears don't behave in real life the way they do in cartoons, but when it comes to stinging insects like hornets, the way they act in cartoons is not that far off from the way they act in real life. And the way cartoon characters behave when they get attacked is not that much different than the way people do in real life when they get attacked. Speaking of that, what is the bee dance? When a body encounters what it perceives to be a threat or trauma, it tends to respond in a fight or flight response. The bee dance is a result of the body doing a fight and flight response at the same time, which it does not do well. I have had multiple observations of this phenomenon occurring while people are being attacked by stinging insects. The way this typically goes down, the person gets attacked by one or more of these insects. They go into a fight response, which is to swat at it, usually wherever it's stinging them. Then there's the flight response, which is to run away, to get away from danger. The problem is the body is putting so much focus on fighting, the flight response does not fully materialize. The feet get it going in the motion of running, but all the energy is going to the fighting and it never actually propels them anywhere. So they just stand there in kind of a, well, they do the bee dance. It looks something like this. Until at some point, either consciously or unconsciously, they finally realize, oh yeah, I actually have to propel myself. So it ends up being like this. The obvious question now is, if you see this happening to someone, is it okay for you to laugh at them? I say it is, and I'll tell you why. Because it's funny. Especially if it's some thin guy wearing big clunky work boots. Just because you're laughing at them does not mean you don't have empathy for them. It doesn't mean you're happy this is happening to them or that you are happy they are in pain. It's just they're doing a funny thing and laughing is a natural response. That doesn't mean they're not going to get butt hurt because you laughed at them, but sometimes in life you just have to weigh the pros and cons of things. Of course, it's going to be up to you to decide whether it's worth it to go ahead and let the laugh out or expend a huge amount of energy trying to suppress your laugh. This video has taken such a turn, at this point, I don't know that it's even salvageable. I better call this the end. Before I do, all silliness aside, getting stung is far from a laughing matter for a lot of people. For those who are allergic, it can be deadly. I don't want to make light of that serious situation. And in the beginning when I said attacks by the larger animals are extremely rare, it doesn't mean they can't happen. You want to be careful around these large animals. They can all be dangerous, even though it's rare. Beware of them, be cautious of them, and don't do stupid things around them. Actually, you shouldn't be doing stupid things around anything. Speaking of stupid things, I'll put a video up here for you to watch. It may have been a little bit stupid, but I was zoomed in from a good distance. And I had some protective devices ready to go in case I needed them. One of the reasons some of that footage was so grainy is because I was zoomed in from so far away. That was the example of a bear that did not behave the way all the other ones I have encountered have.